Howdy, Immortalium here, and welcome to my birthday manga and anime haul. I know it feels to me, at least, I'm not sure how it feels to you guys, but it feels to me like almost a bit too soon since my last manga haul video. Basically, my birthday, which was on the 28th of June, was coming up, and I was thinking to myself, I really want to spoil myself. So even though I hadn't gotten through everything that I'd gotten last time, I'm like maybe 3/4 of the way through what I got, but you know, I would usually have waited a little while before ordering more stuff. But I decided, what the hell, let's spoil myself. So, let's get started. Let's start off with, as usual, the stuff that I'm continuing on. So, let's start off with this lot, which is Bunny Drop. I got the next and last, actually, 6 volumes of Bunny Drop. Now, just to say, I've heard, you know, mixed things about the last several volumes of Bunny Drop. Apparently there's some kind of romantic element that a lot of people don't like. They say it gets a bit weird. I've read the first 4 volumes of Bunny Drop and I really do like the manga and the series, so I wanted to read these, even if they are a bit weird, simply because I do enjoy the series and I want to have an opinion on it, whether the first 4 volumes really are the best parts or however it develops. So that's kind of just my personal thing on that. Overall, like from the first 4 volumes of Bunny Drop that I've read, I definitely can recommend the series. I really do like that series. So yeah. Then after that, the next series I'm continuing on is, of course, Ranma Half. Ranma Half, as I've explained before, I'm really enjoying the series. I find it really funny. I find it really charming. I haven't hit that point yet. I've heard criticism of this, that after a while it gets a bit too repetitive. But I think from what I've read, that's like in the last third of the series. I'm at this point, this omnibus, which is the latest that I have, is volumes 15 to 16 out of 38, so I'm not even halfway through the series yet. I am really enjoying Ranma Half so far. It's a really funny, charming series, and I actually would really love to see the anime picked up over here in, you know, the UK and Ireland. It's being released in America by Viz Pictures, who are doing these fantastically deluxe, you know, box sets. Well, like not overly deluxe, I should say, but you know, like nice packaging. I think like a little booklet thing or something with it, etc, etc. I'd love to see like maybe a similar-ish thing released over here, but I guess, you know, the companies, you know, they look at the sales figures maybe over in America and say, we're not going to pull that much over here. Plus, I think MVM released the Ranma Half movies over here, and if those movies didn't sell well, then none of the anime companies over here are going to want to touch Ranma Half with a 10-foot pole. So that's how it works, and it's sad, but it's probably how everything works out. Anyway, next I am actually continuing on. This is one that, you know, I wasn't sure when I first picked up the first 2 volumes whether or not I would be continuing on. And that is Dr. Slump. I've read the first 2 volumes of Dr. Slump, and I do have to say that it is the best thing I've seen from Akira Toriyama. Better than, you know, what have I experienced? I've read Sandland from Akira Toriyama. I've seen at least the first 50 or about episodes of Dragon Ball. I have like the other, so 90 of the first series, but I haven't gotten around to that yet because I've been concentrating on other anime. But anyway, it's better than that. And it's certainly better than my least favorite thing is that first 39 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. So anyway, like overall, I am really enjoying Dr. Slump. I find there's a fantastic bit, actually. I think this kind of wraps up the entire series. There's a fantastic bit in the first 2 volumes where one of the characters, she's getting annoyed by a bird or something like that. So she screams like, you know, stupid or moron or something like that. And then she grabs the exclamation mark from her shout and uses it to whack the bird, which I found absolutely hilarious. Like, it was so clever and charming. I really liked that. So overall, I'm definitely going to keep continuing on Dr. Slump. There's 18 volumes in total. I don't intend to buy it all at once. Maybe like, I don't know, 2 volumes a haul. Maybe I might increase it higher if I need to. But this is going to be one of those ones that I'll just pick up a couple of volumes at a time. And of some time, eventually, I'm going to complete the whole thing. So I'm not in a rush to complete that. After that then, here is a series that I wanted to order last time. But, you know, after I worked through the basket, you know, it unfortunately got cut down. But I've picked up a couple of more volumes now, and that is Case Closed. As you guys know from my first impressions video, I was actually rather impressed with Case Closed. Like the first volume in particular, like it was a little, like it was good overall, but you know there was a couple of niggles here and there that I wasn't too keen on. particularly regarding, you know, kind of an impersonation bit near the end, I should say. But as the series continued, each volume steadily got better and better, so that like volume 3 was clearly the best of the 3, in my personal opinion. And I really did enjoy it, and I just wanted to continue this on. Now, I don't know if I'll ever complete this whole series. I mean, what is it, 80 volumes or so in Japan? And it's like over 50 over here, so I don't know, like, I'm just gonna keep going with Case Closed until I stop enjoying it. That's my, you know, kind of philosophy with that. But, you know, I'm gonna continue it on. And, you know, I've already explained certain stuff like the name changes, you know, the fact that there was some guy, I think, was it Conan O'Brien or Conan the Barbarian or some kind of Conan in America that had copyright on the name, so they had to change the name from Detective Conan to Case Closed. And Funimation had done a version which had, you know, changed the English, changed certain characters' names into English, and, you know, a lot of people are not keen on that. To me, I never knew the name of the characters in their previous Japanese forms, so the English names don't bother me too much, except for when there's many other characters who are named Japanese because they didn't show up in the anime, but they're surrounded by then English named characters, which is a little strange, I will admit. But, you know, I don't let it bother me too much. It's a very minor niggle. Anyway. Then, this one took a long time. There's an interesting story behind this one, which is the 5th Lone Wolf and Cub omnibus. As you saw in my previous manga haul video, I got 6 and 7, and I explained there that a friend of mine, she had, like, this was my Christmas present. Like, we tell each other what we want to get, you know, at, like, our birthdays or Christmas, etc, etc, and she had wanted the 2nd omnibus of Tokyo Babylon, which I got her. And I gave it to her relatively fast, and she was like, "Oh, I forgot your present, etc, etc. I'll bring it, you know, next time." And she didn't do that until, like, it was around the beginning of this month. I met her up in town, and she just confessed to me that she had forgotten which volume of Lone Wolf and Cub that I had needed. And that for the past, like, 6 months or whatever, she had been trying to coax out of me which one it was that I needed. So I just told her flat out there, I need number 5, and she gave it for me as a part of my birthday. So basically during my birthday I got a Christmas present from her, which is very ironic. So, you know, I'm really happy to get Omnibus 5 now of Lone Wolf and Cub, because it means I can finally read 6 and 7. Not only that, as part of this order as well, I got number 8. So I'm gonna have like a whole bunch of Lone Wolf and Cub to catch up on. Omnibuses 5, 6, 7, 8. That's over 2,000 pages of Lone Wolf and Cub, which, you know, I'll be really looking forward to. It's like, I remember when I started Lone Wolf and Cub, I was a bit unsure about, you know, the way that it was an episodic serial, but over time it has really become a fantastic series, one that I'm really enjoying, so I can't wait to get back to it. Beyond that, let me see. Oh yeah. Here's another one that I'm continuing on. This is one which, again, in the last manga haul I started. I picked up the first 2 volumes of it just to test out how it was. And basically that is Bride Story. I decided to order volumes 3, 4, 5 and 6, which brings me up to the English release. I believe they release about 1 a year. The next one is like a third of a year away. It's volume 7. Anyway, when I read the first 2, I was actually amazed at how relaxing it was. I mean, it was one of the most soothing kind of reading material that I actually read from, you know, manga, which is kind of crazy because as good as so much other manga series are, many of them aren't exactly soothing. You know, they're exciting, they're tense, etc, etc, but soothing isn't a word that I apply to many of the manga that I have actually read. So to further, you know, like, just experience that really, like, unique sense of relaxation that I read when I read the first 2, I decided to pick up the rest. Now, Archangel, or Adam, he was telling me that in volume 6, that kind of relaxation kind of atmosphere is a bit more removed. There's like some kind of story arc brought in, which, you know, is a bit more serious and a bit more tense. And he was saying that while it's like good in the short term, he was hoping that it will go back to the more relaxing atmosphere, because, you know, for my personal opinion, it is like one of the more unique things about it, and he agrees. So I haven't read that bit yet, of course, so I can't actually comment on it, but I'll be like really looking forward to checking these out. I can actually recommend you guys now, pick up Bride Story if you're looking for, you know, a very nice historical drama, you know, set in Central Asia, which deals with, you know, various aspects of their life and culture. It's a slice of life, essentially. And it's really, really, really good. I really like that series. Beyond that, I think that's everything that I'm actually continuing on. Let me just double check. Oh, wait, well, this is not a manga, but I'm continuing on, so I might as well throw it into this aspect of the video. And that is the 4th volume of Spice and Wolf, the light novel. The interesting thing about this one is I believe this is the first volume that is not adapted into the anime. For whatever reason, when they made the anime, I believe the first season adapted volumes 1 and 2, and then the second season adapted volumes 3 and 5. So they skipped 4 for some reason. I don't know why. Whether it was less well received, if it didn't work in the terms of the anime, etc., etc. I do not know. But I will be looking forward to, you know, reading, you know, a brand new story, even though I've been really enjoying the first 3 volumes because, you know, you can take your time, you can understand the economic side of things, which admittedly are a little awkward to follow in the anime. I am looking forward to seeing, like, new stories regarding Holo and Lawrence. It's a really, really engaging series, I find, really enjoyable, and, you know, of course, I really like it. And I believe that is everything, yeah. So let's continue on with, you know, some of the actual new series that I've picked up. So let's start off with perhaps the most impressive one, and that is I picked up the entire 8 volumes of Parasite. Interesting story. First of all, I've known about this series for a long, long time, even before like the anime and the live-action movie and all that was made recently. Actually, I looked up my Amazon wishlist, and I've actually had the first volume of Parasite in that wishlist since 2012, which tells you, you know, how long it's been. But even so, I wasn't in a rush to pick it up when the reprints was announced. What kind of really gave me kind of that push to try to pick up the series, particularly in its entirety, was actually Archangel Manga's, or Adam's, opinion on it. I believe it to be his favourite manga, at least his favourite seinen manga. I know recently he's become a bit more critical of the ending of Parasite, saying it isn't quite as perfect as what he once thought, but he still highly recommends the entire thing. So I was kind of thinking to myself, well, like, he has such great taste, and we agree on so many things that I really do want to actually pick this up. That, and it helped that I had an interest in this even before he brought it up. So, you know, I'll be really looking forward to checking this out. And what's nice as well is that these are nice thick volumes. They're maybe ever so slightly more expensive than the standard tankobon, but this is like 280 pages, which is, you know, great value. So I can highly, from a value perspective at the very least, I can highly recommend the Parasite volumes. Now, whether or not I can recommend them from the story, well, you'll have to wait for my review of that. So, anyway, that's how that works out. So, I'm looking forward to checking that out. Plus, it's nice to expand my Kodansha, because my Kodansha is dominated pretty much by Sailor Moon and Attack on Titan, with a couple of other series like Negima and all that. So, it'll be nice to have, you know, like a more seinen, for instance. And speaking of seinen manga from Kodansha, I decided to pick this up because of the very positive reception, not only that manga has been getting, but the anime adaptation of it. And that is Maria the Virgin Witch. Now, I do not know much about Maria the Virgin Witch, to be honest. I've done a bit of research. I know, like, the kind of basic premise of the story, that it's set in, like, during the 100 Years' War, which was a war fought between France and England for, you guessed it, about 100 years. I think it was maybe like 116 or something like that. I think it was like 4 separate wars, but they were all just lumped together. And basically we have our lead character, Maria, who's a witch. She's a virgin, surprise, surprise. And she has to kind of deal with, you know, a lot of, like, certain incidents regarding the war and the culture and all that. And I've heard really positive reception about the manga and about the anime. Which is no surprise, because I believe that the anime is directed by the same guy who directed Code Geass. Is it Goro Taniguchi? He's a fantastic anime director from what I remember, so I'm not surprised that he can, you know, make such a fantastic series. But anyway, another thing that kind of really encouraged me to actually get this was the fact that it's only 3 volumes long, which, you know, to me, I really do like that idea of manga series just being like 3 volumes long, because it's long enough that you can tell a pretty good story, but not so long that, you know, it drags out or it costs a lot of money. So, you know, I just decided, okay, I'll get the first 3. Now, what surprised me though was how thin, like, the first volume is. The first volume is really, really, really skinny, which I think it's about maybe 160 pages, about that. Which I was under the impression that each was going to be 200 pages. So like the third volume, for instance, is nice and thick. It's like, yeah, about 220 pages. I think the second is maybe about like more of a standard tankobon length. So a little disappointed on the length of the first tankobon, to be honest. But what can you do? So once I've actually read the series, I'll give a review of it, I'll tell you what I think of it, etc, etc. But I do have, you know, pretty good expectations for it from what I've heard. Anyway, after that, let's see, what shall I pick up next? I will choose, let's start off with this one. Well, not start off with this one, but anyway. It is Seraphim. By both Mamoru Oshii and Satoshi Kon. Now, this is part of the... It seems like recently a lot of the manga well, not a lot, like Dark Horse and Vertical have gotten really eager to try to release, you know, all of Satoshi Kon's manga catalogue into English, which is a fantastic thing. Satoshi Kon was an enormously talented man. So, you know, of course, I'll be enormously happy to see, you know, all of his manga works released into English. What is a bit disappointing about this, from what I've heard, is the fact that this is an unfinished series. Basically, as time went on, Mamoru Oshii and Satoshi Kon got into, you know, increasing, you know, arguments about, you know, the how to continue the story, what style to do it in, etc, etc. It's an unfinished work, and a lot of people were saying that it actually ends off where it actually becomes like really, really, really good. So just as it's finding its groove, it's cut off, which is a shame. But what is nice, and what actually surprised me in the length, there's I think it's about it's about 30 pages. There's an afterword by Carl Gustav Horn, who's the guy who is in charge of Dark Horse manga, and from what I've heard, you know, it's enormously informative. It tells you all about, you know, like the relationship between Satoshi Kon and Mamoru Oshii, about what caused them to stop, about where the story may have continued, what popular culture references there are, etc, etc. Like, for example, it's from that a friend of mine, Split Screen Life, in his review, he figured out that the number here, which is, was it 26 million maybe? No, 26 billion? I don't know. The number of wings there, that's actually double the number of angels that were cast out of heaven after the war in heaven. Which is, you know, really fascinating, and I'm sure it has some kind of influence on the actual series itself. So that's how it works. So basically, also another thing I was going to say, I was under the impression that it was a 2-in-1, like a 2-volume series. It's actually pretty much just a 1-volume series. So that was also a little disappointing, simply because I don't know where I got that impression that it was actually 2 volumes worth, essentially. But it's just 1 volume's worth. That's how it works. After that, this is one of the more interesting things I picked up. When I say interesting, I mean from definitely a historical perspective, and that is the 4 Immigrants manga. Now, just to give a bit of an explanation on this, because I'm sure most of you are looking at this and you're kind of going, what the hell is this? I've never heard of this. Basically, the 4 Immigrants manga, it was actually written by a guy, Henry Kiyama, or Yoshitaka Kiyama, whatever you want to call him. And this was written between 1904 to 1924. But it wasn't published in like a complete paperback until like 1931 or something like that. But for a long time it was completely forgotten about until Frederick L. Short, who he translates a lot of manga, like in particular like Tezuka related stuff. So like he did translation for Astro Boy, he did translation for Pluto, etc, etc. He was going to a library and he was looking like for manga, like a list of manga stuff. And he came across the 4 Immigrants manga and he decided to translate it. So, really, really fascinating stuff, and it's meant to be a really, really good read. The art is, of course, as you can be expecting from the time, not exactly what you claim manga to be. It's, the best way to describe it is this is pre-Tezuka, pre-Shotaro Ishinomori, pre-every pretty much major mangaka. You know, there's probably a couple of mangaka at the beginning who were very influential, but in general, the big influences of what became what we know as manga weren't present in this, so of course the art is going to look completely different. But I hear that it's actually still a fantastic read about 4, you know, Japanese immigrants who come to America and they face, you know, adversity, you know, because of their skin color, because of the fact that they're from Asia, etc, etc. It's meant to be great, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And it's a little thinner than I expected. It's about maybe, how many pages? maybe about 120 odd, but there's a lot of like literary material explaining, you know, the historical relevance of it, about a couple of maybe cultural references, etc, etc. So like just on my kind of continuing historical manga kind of thing, this is a very, very important part, and this actually now has like the oldest manga record in my collection. I'm sure for that, considering 1904, like the first, when it was first printed, the first strip, yeah, I'm sure there isn't much manga in English that comes around that time. So really happy to have picked this up. Wasn't bad value either. Anyway, after that, let's go on to... Okay, I better do this one actually, because this kind of links into one of the early ones I just did. So this was actually my birthday present from said girl, the one that quote-unquote kept forgetting about the Lone Wolf and Cub. I, you know, told her like a list of 2 titles, and she chose me the one that I was actually not expecting her to get me, but I'm really, really happy that she did, because now I think it means that I have all of his work in English, maybe? And that is Satoshi Kon's Dream Fossil, the complete story. So what this is, it's actually the, it's a collection of all of like the kind of one-shots, the short stories that Satoshi Kon did. There's about, I think, 15 of them. And as far as I can tell, most of them were published in Weekly Young magazine. And actually there was a review done recently of this by Anime News Network, and they said that in general this is a fantastic release, great artwork, most of the stories are fantastic, a couple of mediocre ones, but in general it's supposed to be amazing. As a fan of Satoshi Kon, I really, really, really did want to read this, and it looks really nice, like from here. Again, it has the new, I better point out, the new logo from Vertical, which is the Vertical Comics. That is only shared with Prophecy, which actually, I will say to people, I do intend to start Prophecy soon. And so you will hopefully get a review of that in the next month. Just, you know, in case people are wondering, because I haven't gotten around to that yet. I'm really, really happy to have gotten this. I think it means that I have everything that Satoshi Kon did in manga form. I might actually, after this, look up his Wikipedia page and just to check to see if there's anything that isn't included in like Opus, Tropico de Sea, Seraphim, or Dream Fossil, and just see if there's anything that... Also, I just want to point out, this is a little strange. It just... just one of his stories is actually called Toriko, which of course has no relevance to Toriko, the shonen manga done by Yaman. I can't remember his name. Just thought I'd point that out because I first heard of the Toriko short story because I think I was doing like a search for research on that Toriko, the shonen one, and like it said like at the top of the page, not to be confused with the short story done by Satoshi Kon. I was kind of like, which short story is that? So I looked up Satoshi Kon and I was like, oh yeah, he did do a short story called Toriko, except it has nothing to do, of course, with that Toriko. So just thought I pointed out. So of course I'm really looking forward to this. That's something I say a lot in my manga videos, and I know it gets a bit repetitive, but of course it applies to everything. I wouldn't have bought it if I wasn't looking forward to it. After that, let's continue on with the vertical stuff. I decided to pick up the complete series of Paradise Kiss. Little dark there. Maybe it might be easier if I just did that. So basically, as you guys know, I'm loving Nana. I didn't actually get any Nana in this manga haul because I'm not in a rush to complete it because of the fact it's on hiatus. So I don't want to get to the end of Nana only to have to wait for a long time before I can get any more Nana. So I was kind of wondering to myself, how am I going to solve this? And then I found out that, well, actually kind of knew already, but I kind of reminded myself, or I should say, that Aizawa had done a series, a Josei series called Paradise Kiss, and I think it was originally released by Tokyopop in English. Vertical got the rights to do like a 3 kind of omnibus re-release of it. So I really do, you know, I'm looking forward to this, as I keep saying. The art looks fantastic. You know, it's really reminiscent, of course, of Nana, which, of course, I absolutely love the art style. It's a Josei instead of a shoujo. Now, Nana is pretty much one of the most Josei-feeling shoujo mangas that I've read. So, you know, no surprise to find out that Aizawa mostly specialized in Josei manga. So, I'm not exactly sure what kind of big changes there will be between this and Nana, because of the fact this is a Josei and that's the shoujo. So, I don't know, but my basic point is, of course, as I keep repeating, I'm looking forward to reading this series. I will have a review of it when I've actually read it. I'm not sure when that gets around. Actually, one thing I do want to point out is that once I finished Samurai Executioner, I do intend to actually move on to the first half of A Dance with Dragons, the George R. R. Martin book, so there will probably be a delay of like certain manga reading because of the fact that I'm actually reading a non-manga at night. But, you know, that's how it's going to work. After that, I decided to pick this up. This author, I've been meaning to get something from him for a long, long time, and this is the best value among his most famous works. And that is A Drifting Life by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. Now, Yoshihiro Tatsumi, for those of you who aren't familiar with his name, he is basically one of the most important person, if not the most important people involved with the Gekiga movement. The Gekiga movement was a movement that started, I think, late 60s, early 70s, and it was basically a rejection of the really cartoony and childlike nature of manga that was being published at the time, and they decided to go for more like realistic stories, realistic art style, etc., etc. And basically this is actually an autobiography. This is Yoshihiro Tatsumi's autobiography of his life in manga form, which is a fantastic idea. I mean, I don't really have much autobiographies, to be honest. The closest thing you could really argue is Insufficient Direction, which is the Miyoko Ano one about her marriage with Hideaki Anno. Even then, I'm not exactly sure if it would count as an autobiography. Probably would count. Like this, I'm just absolutely looking forward to. It is a whopper of a book. It's like, how many pages is it? It's over 800 pages, so it's an absolutely gigantic book. And I just, like, one of the things that like I found out about this, which I'm really excited about, is that he actually meets Osamu Tezuka at one point in this. I can't imagine like the amount of amazing information that I'm going to be getting from this. That and I hear is a fantastic story. I would love to pick more Yoshihiro Tatsumi stuff up, but a lot of the other stuff that's been released by him, like Black Blizzard, I think that's one of the other ones and all that, they're a little pricey for their length. They're maybe like 120 pages generally, and you know, their cost maybe a little, like maybe, I don't know, 2/3 of the cost that it was to get this, which is 800 pages. So to me, it was no doubt, like, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to pick this up first because it's better value. That, and it might be a good way to start because, you know, I actually get to find out about the mangaka first, and then I can actually start reading the stories. So that's how it's going to go. It'll be a hell of a read once I get around to it because of how thick it is, but that's how it goes. Okay, so this one is another light novel, one that I've been meaning to start for a long time, and this is actually called Accel World. Now, a couple of things I need to explain. So basically, Accel World, it's done by, what's his name, Reki Karahawa, and he is the guy who did Sword Art Online. Does Sword Art Online, I should say. And as you guys probably know by this point, I was not keen on Sword Art Online. I saw the first 5 episodes of Sword Art Online, and I wasn't keen on it. I read the first light novel because I've been told it was better, and admittedly it was better than the anime, but I still found the love story in it cringeworthy and not well done. Some of the descriptions of the technology was nice, but in general it wasn't a good read for me. You know, I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it. So you might be asking yourself, if you didn't enjoy his most famous series, Sword Art Online, why are you trying Accel World? And the reason for that is I also seen the first 5 episodes of Accel World, the anime, and I will admit I was more impressed with the anime of Accel World than I was with, you know, anything Sword Art Online related. So I really, really did actually have an interest in actually trying out Accel World, seeing what I thought of it, etc, etc. Beyond that, another thing I just want to point out is that I heard from Vertical, was it Vertical who did that? Basically, one of the publishers on Ask.fm was asked if they were going to go into more light novels because of the whole Yen-On thing, the fact that Yen Press is now pushing light novels a lot harder. And they were explaining that, you know, like for example, Sword Art Online has done really, really, really well for Yen Press, surprise, surprise, but that many of the other series haven't been doing stellar numbers. And interestingly, Accel World is one of the weakest that you know, performers for Yen Press. Now Yen Press themselves have not commented on that. That is the word of another publisher. So you know, I don't know. Like it could. I'm fairly sure it's fact, but you know, I guess there could always be a bit of bias on that. But if that is the case, if Accel World is not doing well, I kind of want to support it if it's a good series, you know, particularly if a series that I don't like of the same author is doing way better. You know, that kind of sensation. So I'll read the first light novel, I'll see what I think of it, and I may continue it. That's my basic point. Plus, you know, I want to keep steadily building up my light novel collection. I haven't actually read another yet. I want to. That might be one that I actually, like, my original intent was to read at night, but I think it might actually work pretty well for reading during the day. So I might do that. I'm not sure about that. I haven't actually figured all that stuff out yet. So, you know, I will get onto that. And don't worry, I will review another once I get around to that. Now, there isn't much left, admittedly. I know I actually do have, like, a pretty huge haul this time. But, anyway, the next thing is actually a present that my mother and sister got me. Basically, they traveled to the Czech Republic recently as kind of a holiday, partially also to celebrate the fact that my sister completed her big exam. She completed the Leaving Cert, which it's hard to describe what the Leaving Cert is to... Well, I guess the biggest way to describe it is what you do at the end of secondary school. So it's like the GDC of Britain? I don't know. Something like that. So anyway, she completed her biggest exam. They went off and they wanted to get, you know, souvenirs for everyone else. And while they were there, you know, they came across this and they were like, they kind of wanted to get it for me. And that is, they got me a Czech first volume of Attack on Titan. Which is kind of interesting because, to be honest, I didn't even know, like, there were Czech manga publishers. I mean, Czech is, like, I think there's about 11 million speakers, which isn't really that big. Granted, that is bigger than most languages. Like most languages in the world actually are very small. It's still, like, a very small number of speakers. So, and also, like, I did some research on that when they told me that they were getting me this. And, like, for example, Anime News Network makes no mention of the fact that this has a Czech edition. Which is really interesting. So I did not know that. And what's interesting about this is that it's about the same size as, you know, the Japanese tankobon. So it's not as big as, like, American tankobon. But for some reason it's actually heavier. Now the pages are thinner, but the pages are also higher quality. I guess that all contributes. So it's actually a really fascinating thing to see how it's published in another language. You know, how they, like, handle the packaging, etc., etc. And also how they handle the sound effects. There's a lot of interesting things. Of course, I'm never going to learn Czech. I mean, I have enough difficulty learning, you know, like, Japanese. So I'm, like, I can't ever image myself actually learning Czech. Like, even though it would be really awesome to learn, it just doesn't seem like a language that would be too useful to me. Unless, like, there's, like, a device in the future that can, you know, put languages in your head. I doubt I'll ever be able to read this. But, you know, it's still a fantastic thing to, you know, that my mom and sister got for me. It'll look nice on the shelf, etc., etc. Now, for some of the more interesting stuff. This, actually, I got just today. I was about to film this manga haul when I actually came across this package. And I was wondering to myself, what is this? And then I suddenly realized, oh my god, this is it. And what it is actually Ludwig Bait, the Kickstarter, a Kickstarter thing that I did, which it's the first Kickstarter, Tezuka Kickstarter that I actually participated in. This would have been back around, I think, December. I, you know, put in money in order to get myself printed copies of Ludwig Bait. And, you know, it only finally arrived, but, you know, I'm really, really, really happy to have gotten this. It is basically a kind of a spiritual successor to Buddha. So when I say that, what I mean is that the idea of taking another famous historical character and doing kind of a biography, admittedly a biography that likes to take a lot of leeway or whatever with the storytelling, but it's still meant to be a fantastic work. The only problem is that Osamu Tezuka died before he finished this. He was doing this at the time when he was suffering from stomach cancer. So he didn't get to finish the series, but I still hear that it's a fantastic read, and you know, that's well worth reading, even though it doesn't have a real conclusive end. Another cool thing that, like, I mean, it's a very minor thing, I guess, overall, but I actually really do like this little thing. It's a kind of a thank you note. It's got the signature of Hikaru Sasahara, who is the president of the company Digital Manga Publishing. Now, I know some of you are probably going to be skeptical of that. Maybe they're thinking like, oh, maybe like because there were 392 backers, like, oh, did he really sign everything? Maybe. I mean, like, I am taking it on their word that this is his signature, but I'm still really, really happy to get it. And plus, I can actually read that the first word he's done is arigato, which is the thank you in Japanese. So I'm really, really happy about getting that. So I think this is very cool to get. And of course, I'm really happy to get more Tezuka, to get to see it in you know, print, etc. To see his less famous works get English releases, because as you guys know, I'm a big Tezuka fan. So I'm really happy about that. And then the last stuff is not actually manga. Basically, this is all the manga I got. Fantastic. I got a little bit of anime as well. I'm still working my way through a lot of the anime that I got from NamCon. I got a huge amount of stuff from that con, and I'm still working my way through it. Actually, I'm in Naruto right now. I'm during the Kage Summit. On to the actual anime that I picked up. So basically, both of these I've been wanting to pick up for ages now. And the first one is actually Space Captain Harlock, or I guess, actually, yeah, Captain Harlock Space Pirate. I've heard also call it Space Pirate Captain Harlock, whatever you want to call it. I cannot, for the life of me, remember when I first heard about Space Captain Harlock. I know a lot of people have now heard of Space Captain Harlock because of the fact that they've released that CGI movie. Toei Animation did the like CGI movie. It cost like $30 million, and it's really good looking. It looks really nice, but I've heard very mixed to negative reception about, you know, the storytelling, about the characterization, etc. So overall, not that great from what I've heard. And but the original anime is supposed to be absolutely fantastic, and I found out that Discotek had a release of this, so I was like, okay, I really want to pick it up. Now, one thing was I was a little worried that it says on the back Region 1, and even though I do have a Region 1 player, it's in another room. It's in the room that isn't the room that I like to actually watch stuff in, so it would have been inconvenient for me. First world problem, I know. But because of the fact that Lupin the Third, which was from the same company, actually released before this, you know, was region free, I was thinking to myself, maybe it'll actually work on my PS3. And I got this, and I actually tried it out, and yes, it works. It's region free, so it'll work perfectly. Now, I do want to, you know, get a region free DVD player for that room as well, so that I can swap between the PS3 and the region free DVD player, so I can actually play region 1 stuff, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to this Space Captain Harlock. It is actually 42 episodes, so it's actually a decently big chunky series. Anyway, after that then, the last part of this haul is Devilman. And actually this must be like a part of the first release of Devilman, because this is actually the first Discotek thing that actually has a slipcover, which is pretty nice actually. It's a pretty nice slipcover. It's got a nice feel. There's a little more detail and less shine than the actual box set itself. Devilman, I can actually indicate now when I first heard of Devilman, and that is actually in the, oddly enough, the 7th volume of Gundam Origin. Basically at the back there's an afterword from a, I think he's a designer for, you know, lots of series, etc. Anyway, he was explaining about how, you know, like there's lots of differences between manga and then their anime adaptations and vice versa. And he was mentioning, I'm actually going to quote this now, I'm sure that's perfectly fine. So it's from Mamoru Nagano, and he says, with series like Tiger Mask and Devilman, the original manga and the derivative anime were radically different with respect to both visuals and story. Kids at the time must have all recognized that the anime and the manga were totally separate. Skip a bit about the Tiger Mask. Devilman had a beastly aspect in the original manga, but looked more like an American comics character in the anime. Still, I think both the original manga and derivative anime of Tiger Mask and Devilman are masterpieces. So, and that's what I've heard. I've heard that, one sec, I know, get a good look at my arm. I've heard that the Devilman anime, even though it's really different to the manga, is meant to be still an absolutely fantastic work. And actually you can kind of see from the cover what he was talking about like an American superhero kind of look character. Anyway, my basic point is it's supposed to be a fantastic work. It's 39 episodes. It's a very significant series. It's apparently surprisingly violent for the time. This was done in 1972, and from what I've heard, there's actual decapitations and everything in this, which is pretty crazy. So I'm, you know, of course, as a broken record now, I'm really looking forward to this. So that's my entire haul. Now we're getting on actually quite a while now, so I'm not sure if I'll go through I won't go through everything again. But basically, I had a fantastic, you know, birthday haul in both manga and anime. Manga way more so. The anime is more of a kind of a how can I describe it, like a quality over quantity kind of thing. Right. So anyway, I'm really happy about that stuff, and I'm really happy that the actual Tezuka Kickstarter stuff has actually arrived, because, you know, I was not expecting to get that today. I'd actually kind of forgotten about it. So I'm really happy that I've gotten all that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this, just kind of figuring out what series I got. Maybe like you've came across lots of interesting series in this that you're kind of thinking, so far maybe I'll pick that up, etc, etc. Hopefully you found this video informative. And yeah, if you want to, you know, comment on, you know, the various series and, you know, stuff that I got, or maybe mention what you guys picked up, etc, etc, in the comments below, I'll be very happy to hear about that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.